Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about Palworld and the Nintendo patent lawsuit once again and how the patent in the US has been denied. Even though it's kind of like a step one for Nintendo, but we'll see how it goes. We are on PC Gamer today. Article is by Harvey Radful. Thank you for the article. I really appreciate it. It's down linked in the description below if you want to read along or if you just want to read it for yourself. The title goes, Japanese patent attorney burdened with a party pooper's knowledge says Nintendo having 22 out of 23 Palworld targeted claims rejected in the US is a business as usual. Most patent claims are as broad as possible and filed down in an iterative process, which totally makes sense. I assume this patent's going to take basically years to finally get accepted in the US system, because it takes, like, the US patent system takes a long time no matter what company you are, and Nintendo doesn't necessarily have the jaw-dropping reputation like it does in Japan, where they basically say anything and Japan's law says okay. It's not as simple as that, but Nintendo has a very good history in terms of lawsuits and patent stuff in Japan because they know Japanese law so well, and the lawyers that's their specialty. They're Japanese lawyers, of course. Just before we continue on, I'd like to remind everyone, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Like the video if you do enjoy it. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and once we do, we'll be doing a Q&A video, so please subscribe if you're interested. Thank you. Nintendo's suing of Palworld has as one might imagine, set the internet on fire. Yeah, it did. Primarily because most people look like a good underdog story, and because Nintendo has built a reputation of being very, very litigious. It's true, Nintendo is very aggressive when it comes to basically anything to do with copyright or basically anything IP related. They are very aggressive with. To be fair to Nintendo, to protect the billion-dollar company a little bit, there are some bad actors, but Palworld is definitely not one of those bad actors in my opinion. As such, cheers went on the internet when it was uncovered by GameSfry that Nintendo's patent claims, which primarily seem poised to target Palworld, has suffered 22 rejection claims out of 23 in the US, which naturally made headlines since on digital paper that sounds like a big win. In practice, it's apparently business as usual. Yeah, I mean, they can just change, they can constantly not revitalize, that's not the word I'm looking for. They can constantly redo the patent until it eventually gets accepted. They just have to change the wording. It's probably too broad, which is why it got rejected. And to be fair, there has been some bad press in it. So I don't know how much that also equivalates or gets factored into the fact that everyone said this is stupid. Generally, laws don't care about that though, but it can be at least an influencing fact. That's as per a Japanese patent lawyer who spoke to Yahoo Japan, translated and shared here by Motion. Yeah, I didn't even know Yahoo was still a thing. That's hilarious. About the rejections, which has been making headlines. Basically, Kurihara states that this sort of mass rejection is actually rote for most patent claims. I don't know what rote means. Interesting. I assume it means standard. As Automaton's article paraphrases, Kurihara clarifies that this is a routine outcome in patent reviews. Patent applications often include a mix of broad and narrow claims. The broader ones are often rejected on the grounds of lacking novelty or novelty. No, I think that's novelty. Or inventiveness, while the narrower ones stand a better chance of gaining approval. That makes sense, because they can just edit stuff and try to go again, basically. In this case, despite the words final rejection may sound like, Nintendo has the right to modify its application based on the surviving claim, and it can still attempt to contest the rejection through continued filings or appeals. That's the word I was looking for, appeals, because there's always an appeal process, especially in the US. It's like what their entire system is basically based off of. So they can appeal the rejections and edit the one that was approved. GameFry's original article also highlights, this is a typical tactic stating a product can be even infringe dozens of claims from a single patent in general. The more claims are an accused service or product infringes, the better for the patent holder. One simple reason for which it is good is that even if one or more claim turns out to be invalid, you may still have one or more left to survive. Yeah, it's kind of like a shotgun tactic, right? You just keep throwing as many things as possible onto the wall and hope one sticks. And if multiple stick, that's even better. In other words, claims are cast with a wide net because of the advantages of having multiple claims being infringed, and patent rejections appear to be commonplace. Here's a study in 2015, which found that only 11.4% of patents were given an allowance with no rejection at any point in the US. That makes sense. If you got money to burn and want to nail down commercial dominance, which Nintendo certainly does, then starting broad is pretty similar to opening a season of haggling by naming a high price. You might as well try. It's true. And Nintendo has quite deep pockets, so they can do this for a while, probably. As GamesFry's article does state, the term final rejection is a bit misleading too. Yeah, it is kind of weird. Nintendo can certainly modify its claim and appeal them. In fact, this back and forth process actually has a name, patent prosecution, and it typically goes on for a while. I wonder if for a while is years or just months. I assume it's going to be years, honestly. On that point, a further update by the site suggests Nintendo, by requesting an interview with one of the patent examiners, can be angling to pursue the examiner that more claims than 1 out of 23 should be granted. That makes sense. While the news Palworld is being sued by Nintendo was pretty dramatic, the actual process of applying for patents is long, boring, and includes a lot of revision. That's not to say Nintendo isn't encountering any turbulence in the US. It still clearly has work to do, but said work appears to be par for the course. Yeah. I'm assuming this is going to be years, which is why I assume Palworld is eventually just going to change the game, whether it's true or moral or any of those things, because they can fight Nintendo for only a little while. Nintendo has much deeper pockets. Palworld did well, but there's no way that the Palworld devs has Nintendo money. So it's probably better for them to just change the game, and then maybe other forces can try to say, hey, Nintendo, stop it, this is dumb. I doubt that will happen, but if Palworld just changes the game, which they already did, there was a patch where you don't throw the Pal Spheres anymore. Because that was one of the problems. So that's probably the best decision for Palworld, and I completely understand if they decide to just do that. If the fact that they started fighting it is honestly quite brave, in my opinion, because you don't have enough money to fight Nintendo in the long term. So you have to win quickly. And I don't know if that's possible, because Nintendo could drag this out for a very long time. And it's honestly one of those situations where I would completely understand Palworld just obeying whatever Nintendo says, because it's blatantly clear that no copyright infringement was inflicted. No matter what people say, Nintendo doesn't own animal-like creatures. You know, some of the Pokemon are just straight up animals, so you don't own that. You don't own a sheep. You own the Maleep, or whatever it's called, but the sheep pal isn't Maleep. So they didn't do any copyright infringement. Heavily influenced, sure. You know, you can even go as far as rip off. But if you even played either of the Pokemon games or Palworld, you'd know gameplay wise they're completely different. It's just the designs of the characters that are similar. So there's no copyright infringement. It's just artistic stuff, you know, heavily influenced by. Because everything else is a completely different game. Pokemon is a JRPG monster battler, turn-based, and Palworld is a survival crafting game with real-time combat. So it's a third-person survival crafting game with action combat. So they're completely different games in terms of the actual gameplay. But the patent that did go through, I'm pretty sure, is the one where you throw the Pokeball. That's what at a monster, and you can't do that actually you can do that in Palworld. You can't throw out your pal and summon it. You just summon it beside you now. You don't throw it, which is interesting. My biggest thing, honestly, is that I would like this to have Palworld, just to have it, because honestly, in my opinion, throwing the Pal Sphere doesn't fit Palworld. It'd be much better if the Pal Spheres was loaded into a gun and you shot the Pal Spheres. I know eventually you do get that in a technology upgrade in Palworld, but I think there should be a tier 1 version of that where you always have that, because it just fits Palworld more than the throwing the Pal Sphere, and I think it'd be funnier. I still disagree with the patent, but I do feel like Palworld should just do that because I think it's funnier. So yeah, it's one of those things where this is a step one, like this is step 1.2 basically. Like step one was doing filing the patents, but this is going to be part of the course. I am curious how long it's going to last because for a while is a very broad term. So who knows? I'm assuming it's going to be lasting years, honestly. I think I'm gonna be making videos on these types of updates for a while, and hopefully Palworld makes the right decision and doesn't fight Nintendo, because I do want them to continue developing Palworld, and I don't want them to run out of money fighting Nintendo over stupid stuff. And I understand that this is like a moral thing, and I agree that patents should be able to do video game mechanics, but you just don't have enough money to fight Nintendo, and that's something that's not something that one company has to do. It has to be like multiple companies, or like a change in law culture almost, because you have to be able to define what is a video game mechanic and all that type of stuff. And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the nitty-gritty of it, but it will be interesting when this type of stuff happens, or what comes out of this, because if Palworld does end up fighting Nintendo and they lose, I think that's the worst case scenario. And if they somehow win, this breaks a lot of patents that I'd be happy with. So hopefully that could happen, but I think the most realistic scenario is Palworld just bends and changes the game so they don't infringe any of these patents. And then Nintendo continues trying to get all of 23 granted in the US so they can be more aggressive in the US market as well. Though, if they start fighting US companies, then you start fighting bigger companies, which I'm not sure if they can. Nintendo has a lot of money, but so does a lot of the US companies as well. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. Remember to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it if you do like the video as well. Comment down below what you guys think about this whole situation. If you side with Nintendo, if you side with Palworld, let me know down in the comments. If you'd like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. If you want to join me on any of those social media platforms, all at the Techno Jelly. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Goodbye, everyone.